Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud and get it automatically. You can catch the show on the Stitcher app as well. You can like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. Email me at josh@myfirstsketch.com. Follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. Just giving you all a heads up, I will be performing a sketch on the first night of PHIT's year-end show called Overbooked 2017 on December 29th at 9 p.m. Almost 30 acts over 2 nights, so there's tons of laughs possible. Come to night 1 and see me, then go to night 2 and see a bunch of others. But today's guest is Leticia Viloria, currently a cast member of PHIT Comedy's Shakespeare-inspired improv show with Mirth and Laughter. Leticia brings a musical sketch with her, so that's right, I have to sing. I read the stage directions and play Edgar and Gunther. Leticia reads Olivia and Amanda. So let's go to the sketch. Edgar, an optimistic homeless man, enters wearing a slouchy model-type sweater, a pair of toe socks on his hands, and mittens sticking out of his pockets. I finally feel like a winner, but how can objects hold such weight? I wonder where these majestic pieces were once from before they met Nate. I mean Edgar. Me. Not Nate. Edgar exits. Olivia enters slowly. She appears to be looking for something.
They dared me. I didn't think it was right, but still they dared me. The rest was up to the night my mom gave me those socks.
Olivia stays in place. Amanda enters with a stroller, looking fed up.
Okay, here's your milk, here's my life. There's 85% more to me than just being a wife. This sweater wouldn't have fallen if your needs didn't come first. That sweater was really expensive. I mean, it was made to look slouchy and old, but they charge you extra for it.
A child named Gunther enters. I've lost my mittens. They all look up. And where are my shoes? Edgar runs upstage with a bunch of shoes and possibly a step stool. Blackout. Hey, Leticia.
Hello.
All right, so tell me about this idea. Where did this sketch come from? That you just made me sing.
It's like when you're walking around outside and you just see like a random article of clothing, and I decided to make a sketch that tells the story of where they come from.
That is a totally, I'm not going to say totally universal, but that's an idea I've had before because one time I went to the bank, like to the ATM on like a Sunday morning, and there was an insole of a sneaker there. And I'm just like, what happened last night that this is here? Like, I completely confused me. Like, so I totally understand. I get it. Absolutely. But you mentioned that this isn't like the first sketch you've written. When we were talking, like, you know, emailing back and forth and trying to plan this, you had mentioned that you had done an internship with one of the XM shows.
Yeah.
And written something for that. What was the show? What was the...
Oh my gosh. It was 2007, and I interned for a show called The Ron and Fez Show.
Okay.
which was just, it came like right after the Opie and Anthony show as far as like programming goes or whatever. And so I interned there, and they let me write a bit, and it was called Vajayjay of the Day Day.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be like, they always make fun of their producer then, who was named Black Girl. And so my point was to eventually make him the Vajayjay of the Day Day.
Okay.
But I went into an extreme description of what that meant, where I started describing different, essentially vaginas, and then try to like attribute a personality to each kind.
Okay.
And it was so bad.
And this is apparently lost in the XM archives if they keep something.
Oh my gosh, I tried so
I
hard.
imagine everything's going to be archived.
Yeah. And literally, Ron from the Ron and Fest show, during my thing, it was so bad, he got up and he left the room.
Was he in it or just...
No, it was like a monologue thing. And for some reason I did a voice, like it just didn't, it was so bad. And so Ron got up and left and went to the producer's like thing, like room thing behind me. And I could see him through the glass, like pointing and yelling. He's literally yelling at the producer because they let me do this.
But at the same time, I imagine they had 3 hours a day, 2 hours, like what? They had a length of time that they had to fill.
Yeah.
Hey, why not let someone do something weird that maybe not have been vetted for us?
Yeah, they did not appreciate it at all. Like, I mean, I even spent like a whole bunch of time earlier that day recording like little snippets of songs. They'd be like, "Everybody on time. It's the JJ of the Day Day. It's the JJ of the Day Day." It's like, so I would like motion to the producer to like click the thing to like.
And he like refused to have like. Did he like play the clip? Like
he did.
Okay.
And then.
So the producer was going to go with this as far as it went. And,
yeah, that's right. It was nonsense. It was so bad. Like, I mean, even like there was a guy that did like third mic that wasn't. He was like sort of on the show, and he was right next to me the whole time. And his eyes were just wide, like he couldn't believe that I was still. And then I just kept going still. I just did the entire, it was like 3 pages of stuff. And like Ron got up within the first 5 sentences. And I just kept going.
So it's safe to say that it didn't fit the show, I feel. No. And I appreciate that you stuck through and finished off. So what's your introduction to comedy? Like what were you watching? What made you laugh growing up?
I was a big fan of Tom Green.
Of Tom Green?
Yeah.
I think that's the first time he's come up here.
Really?
I've talked to 75 people and Tom Green. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah. He was like it's very weird, but he was like my preteen crush.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen any episodes of the show. I didn't have cable growing up, but I remember I can't even tell you if it was middle school, high school, what the timeline of the show was. My friends all just doing like, "My bum is on your lips," like, and I was like, I don't know what that means, and I don't know what's happening. The only Tom Green experience I really have is when he hosted Saturday Night Live, and there's some funny, weird things in that. And then they do that publicity stunt where they fake that he and Drew Barrymore were going to get married at the end of the show.
I remember that.
That's really all the Tom Green I know.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of Road Trip. I think is that the one that he's in? I think Road Trip.
Yeah, Road Trip and
But
Freddie Got Fingered.
I never saw Freddie Got Fingered. That one went right past me.
Yeah.
So what is it about?
Just like the random.
And you also say crush.
Yeah.
So okay, so
it was weird. Like I was weird, and I was like 13, crushing on Tom Green, and nobody had a crush on Tom Green.
I can just picture like lockers in a middle school, high school lock in a hallway, and it's like Backstreet Boy, NSYNC, Backstreet Boy, NSYNC, Backstreet Boy, Tom Green, like, and that's making me chuckle, like just that visual of it.
I literally had posters of him everywhere, like all over my room. I would
or
find,
him and Teen Beat, or Tiger Beat, or whatever one it was called, like
Tiger Beat.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. I remember he even did like this whole thing in the Rolling Stone, and like I cut out all those pictures and I put them up. Like it was so dumb.
Oh goodness. That's fantastic.
I'm from New York, so I would go like even when he like was on like TRL. Okay.
Right, because he was MTV, so he would have cross promoted, or whatever you want to call it. After I'm hoping the Tom Green thing finished for you at some point. What's the next comedy thing that you're into, like, or what's your? I mean, I think you're primarily more an improviser more than doing sketch. Do you think that's safe to say? Like,
I actually didn't start improvising until like 3-4 years ago. But before that, like I did stand up. So I did songs and poetry.
Okay, cool. But so how do you get to stand up? Like, what's your progression, fandom? Like, when do you first do? I'm asking like 5 questions in a row there. So what gets you to do stand up?
I worked at this place in New York called the Bowery Poetry Club. Okay. And I interned there first, and then I started working, and I did a lot of performance poetry type stuff, and then I started going to the open mics around there, and I started just like messing around with not knowing what I was gonna do. Like literally sometimes I would just sign up and then go up and look in my bag and then talk about what was in my bag. And then at some point, like I just started combining wanting to do comedy and poetry. So I started doing comedy poetry. And
this might be really reductionist, but like you're actually like writing a poet, I'm assuming there's gonna be like couplets and a rhyme scheme, or is it going to be more the free form, it sounds really awful of me, but like you say comedy poetry, the first thing I think of is like There Once Was a Man from Nantucket, and you're that kind of like that kind of thought process, not necessarily that scheme or that formula, but having the joke at the end of the couplet, having the rhyme, like.
Yeah, I think most of the comedy that I put into my poetry was more like making fun of the poetry. So it usually never rhymed. Okay,
then I'm on board with that. Okay, good.
Yeah. And then I believe I even, because there was a lot of slam poetry going on then, and I wasn't really into the idea of writing something and having people judge it. Yeah. So, but I was friends with a lot of slam poets, and so I remember even one of my poems was me having sound effects for things, but then in the middle of my poem, I have an argument with the sound effects. Okay. And they leave.
See, you could have brought that. That would have been fine. That sounds... now granted, before we were recording, I poo-pooed the whole poetry idea, so that's on me, but that sounds fun. So, like, and you say doing stand-up, like, do you actually, like, go to a more traditional stand-up approach? Like, were you doing jokes, or was it always this almost performance, poetry? I don't want to say character, because it doesn't sound like you're really doing a character versus a parody of other slam poets or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I always did that. I always did music, I did songs, and I did poetry. And sometimes I would just go up and just talk, but definitely with my songs and stuff. I made a CD in like 2006 of like a bunch of my songs.
Do you have the songs? Like, do you still have a physical copy of the CD or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Pain is Fun was the CD.
And you would, I'm presuming you would sell them after the show or hand them out or?
I had like a CD release party.
Okay.
And then I sold a bunch of them then. And then it actually came out like a few months before I started interning at Ron and Fez. So they even played a few of my songs on there. So it was fun.
And they were all supposed like comedic and.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
We glossed over like, because you mentioned Tom Green and I just got completely it's a sketch comedy podcast and I always say that Saturday Night Live is like the paramount of sketch comedy. Do you have a favorite cast member from Saturday Night Live?
Oh man, they're like, I really loved like Will Ferrell and like what's his name?
Catan?
No, it's not Will Sasso. Is it Will Sasso?
Will
no,
Sasso's
that's from
Mad TV.
Whoa.
Daryl Hammond. I'm trying to think of like the people from that era.
David Spades for some reason.
Or now that you're saying Will Farley?
Yeah, Chris Farley. For some reason, I couldn't remember his name.
Will Sasso just got the huge like ego trip that you just confused him with Chris Farley, and I like Will Sasso, but that's funny to me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about them that made you
like going to an extreme, and then I like when someone made the other people in the thing laugh, but they didn't laugh themselves.
Right.
Like they always stayed in character, and that's what was so funny. Is like no matter how ridiculous what they were doing.
You think about that, the famous Matt Foley sketch where like, Spade is completely covering his mouth and trying to hide because, or Cowbell.
Yeah,
where Will Ferrell's all in and stone-faced in character, but Jimmy Fallon laughs at everything, so he's not the best, but yeah. All right, so where does improv come in for you? Like, because we talked, and you were doing improv in Bethlehem, right?
Yep.
Bethlehem, Allentown?
In Bethlehem, and I didn't start doing it until I moved out of New York, which is weird.
So, yeah, because there's no opportunities in New York City to do improv at all. So let's go to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and find improv there. Yeah,
and literally, like, I knew people that were in the improv scene, but like I just never was into improv.
Okay. So why is it Bethlehem? Why?
Well, as far as the comedy scene there wasn't much of it, and I got married, we moved to Bethlehem, I had a baby, and then this was like when my son was like 9 months old. I was just like, I need to go back out and perform.
Yeah, you need to be like, and again, this might sound awful, but like, I can totally see, can I not have parent time, and can I have creative time, like me time? Like, I totally see that. Like, I'm not a parent, like I'm an uncle, and being an uncle has made me not want to be a parent. But I can totally see that. Like, all right, I need to get out. I need to not have my audience be a 9-month-old. As much as I love you. You laugh at my keys jangling. Let's try to flex that muscle again.
Yep.
Okay,
and that was
what do you find out about in Bethlehem? Like,
I looked up, I just looked up stuff, and there were some open mics that I had gone to, but they were primarily like music open mics, and which was a new thing sort of to me, because I guess like I started off like with the open mics that I went to in New York. They were everything.
I feel like, or in New York, there's either going to be a bigger variety, or it's going to be more specialized, where you are going to have your poetry, you are going to have your comedy, you're going to have your music. Where in Bethlehem, it's not going to be specialized, but the variety is going to shrink. Like it's going to be music. I'm going to assume it's going to be dude with the acoustic guitar.
Correct.
6 out of the 7 people,
Yep.
Playing the same 3 chords, like
yeah,
all doing John Mayer impressions.
Yep. Yeah, and I remember going to one of the open mics and doing one of my songs, which is usually like the one that like could go awfully wrong.
Okay.
Because it's just raunchy.
Okay, so.
So I did that, and the room was really weird, and I, for some reason, decided to get the audience to give me Mad Lib words.
Okay.
So that I could replace all the bad words in the song
with
Mad Lib words, which
in my
head sounded hilarious.
It does. Unfortunately, in my head, I already see the problem that the Mad Lib words might not be funny as replacements.
Right. Especially when they don't know what the song was.
Right.
So
there's
awful.
There's a way to do that premise, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's going to work, and it's going to be funny. That way might not be the way.
Correct. In a room full of people that have never seen me before.
Yeah.
Or heard any of my stuff.
Yeah.
So after that, then I started looking at what other stuff like was going on, and then I saw that there was like a short form improv group that was holding auditions, and I decided to audition. I had never auditioned for anything. Okay. And I auditioned, and I got into the group.
And it's the short form, so it's the games,
Yep. And I had never done improv either.
Okay.
So I don't even know how I don't know, but I got in.
Okay. So I'm assuming with like short form, like were you familiar with short form before doing like had you seen like Whose Line?
Yeah, I had seen Whose Line.
Like, because that's going to be the most famous short form. Out there. So
okay.
So you were at least somewhat prepared of going in. You might have been able to know what to expect.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's so very hard coming from I'm writing my own stuff and then I'm presenting it.
Sure, absolutely.
To improv, because I didn't even know there were things that I did that I had no idea. I didn't look at people in the eyes. I just from New York.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I totally see that too. It's going from an individual, very me by myself behind a microphone to a team function is definitely a transition that is going to take some time.
Yep. And I tended to go over that whole Tom Green thing in me, where I just if I was assigned a character, I'm over the top, way too much, and everybody's like, okay.
You can scale back a little bit. Okay. Do you think you could still watch Tom Green now and find the humor that was there originally?
So that's interesting that you asked that, because I recently saw him in Bethlehem. He performed. He did a stand-up set.
Okay, but is his stand-up set similar to the show?
Yes.
He's still doing that kind of
he wasn't sitting down doing stuff, or he didn't have props, but he yelled a lot and he was random a lot, and it wasn't tradition.
He's not doing a Jerry Seinfeld. Hey, what's the deal with?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that was actually the only time I've ever seen him live. And
did you fangirl out and oh my god?
I started to. I was all the way in the front because I went by myself and there was like one single seat available in the front.
Yeah, you get that one single,
Yeah.
Because I usually go to, stand-up shows by myself when I go, and I'm always that one random, like, plopped with the 3 song or,
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like right there. But like 80% of his set was him yelling things out from his movies. And people like being like, yeah, you said it.
Okay, so that's a thing. Yeah.
Like more so than like other, like I've seen comedians like been like, hey, this is the thing that people know me for. But he just yelled things.
A couple years ago, and I've mentioned this before to people. I saw Dave Koechner, who's a stand-up. He's actor, comedian, but he did stand-up, and he's Champ from Anchorman.
Okay, yeah.
Former Saturday Night Live cast member, does a couple different sitcoms and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know. I was like, yeah, Dave Koechner. Yeah, I'll go see his stand-up. Mm-hmm. 70% of the show was just the lines from Anchorman.
Oh man!
And like I'm just sitting there, and I've got no time for that. Like, I was like, if I wanted to see, like, I would just watch Anchorman. Like, you saying them in front of me doesn't help anything. Like, so I totally understand. Like, okay.
I mean, he didn't even just yell out his lines. He yelled at his lines, and he's like, yeah. How about those lines? How many other lines from other movies can you remember? How great, like, yeah, my movies didn't do great, but yell out lines. And then there were like 5 minutes of people yelling out lines and then him repeating the lines and that. So that was super weird.
Oh my, like.
It was like.
there's rage building in me because I can't imagine enjoying any part of it.
I've never seen that
just
before.
Being so like
most
I can see
of
myself
his
being
set.
there like cross-armed, like I paid money for like and 2 drink minute, like I
think he was literally just making people cheer for him. Like it wasn't which.
So we're saying Tom Green's gotten lazy and. The crush is definitely broken.
I mean, my heart was broken.
Oh, that's
my
too
heart.
bad.
I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have seen him live.
Hold on to the memories.
Don't
let anything sully the MTV show. Okay, so you're doing. We take another detour through Tom Green. I'll bring him up one more time later. So improv in Bethlehem, short form. Are you taking classes?
I took classes at PHIT.
So it's not until you come down to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So how long before you decide, hey, Bethlehem's a really small town in the middle of nothing. Philadelphia is only an hour and a half away. Let's check that out.
Yeah. That was, I was in that short form group for like 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I didn't even talk to anybody else within that scene because this group just happened to be really like closed off, I guess, which I didn't know because they were the first people in the comedy scene that I met. So I didn't know anything about them. So yeah, I did that. And then I started doing some other things with other people. And that's when I sort of like there's a nice scene now. Like it's definitely built.
I was about to say with Steel Stacks opening, there's definitely become it's grown further than what you would expect improv in Bethlehem to be.
Definitely. Like
I'm sorry, I'm crapping on Bethlehem way too much, but that's fine.
No, I mean
Iowa, Bethlehem, like there's certain places I make fun of on the show all the time, and apparently Bethlehem's one of them now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it grew a little bit, and but like I think like somebody had mentioned, there's a diversity program at PHIT.
Okay.
And I applied for that, and I got the scholarship, so I got to take like the classes for free.
Cool.
So that was like a big thing, and then like coming to the shows there, I was like, oh man.
Was there a difference between what you were I'm not going to ask that question anymore. I'm gonna move on. So you come down to. I was going to say, is there a big quality difference? And that's just a dick move. So you're coming down to Philadelphia now. All right. So improv classes at PHIT 101. Who's your instructor?
Fred Brown.
2.
David Danella.
Did you do 3?
Yep.
With
Mike Marback.
And 4?
Kristen Shear.
I believe you just did the conservatoire.
Yep.
With
Steve Kleiner.
He was just announced in a show I went to last week, so I believe it's Klein Adler. Whatever.
Adler. That sounds right.
That's close enough. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
We've never met.
I'm sorry, Steve. No.
The conservatory that you did was
Shakespeare.
Was the Shakespeare one. Okay. Which is, well, let's not jump all that way. You recently were a part in Sarah Clemency's musical,
Yes.
Becoming Vegan.
Yes.
Which I missed. Tell me about your experience being, I believe Facebook has you as a, what are you? The fruit costume. What?
Oh, I was
it's you, Beth,
banana.
and you were okay. So
I was a stalk of corn.
Okay,
that's what it was.
You were corn because I think now I'm blanking on his name. Scott Campbell is the banana.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the photo I keep seeing of you online.
Yeah.
So tell me about becoming vegan.
Oh my gosh, that was possibly one of the most fun things I ever worked on.
Yeah, because all right, to be fair, we've been talking about doing this episode for a while. And conservatory and becoming vegan have put roadblocks in our way for the last couple of months. So nuts to you guys, but now we're finally here. Back to vegan. Okay, go.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be a hamburger, a sexy, seductive hamburger. And the whole show was just so great. Like, Sarah, I can't even believe she did all of that. Oh my gosh, wrote the whole thing, the music, the words, the script, it's just it was so much. And there were only 5 of us in the show.
It's a very small
people.
cast.
Yep, there were 3 of us that were ensemble, and she hadn't even originally meant to have ensemble members. She created that later. So, I mean, that whole thing was incredible, and yeah, I don't even know what to say. Everybody that was a part of it was really fun. That show was actually the first show my dad came to see.
Yeah.
Literally, I have been doing comedy
I was gonna say,
since
so
2001.
he's never seen any of the short form in Bethlehem. He's never seen anything you've done down here at PHIT. But how did he enjoy it?
He really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
He loves musicals.
Okay, that's cool.
So this was he actually.
So you
really
finally
liked
went
it.
to his wheelhouse. Okay, all this time being selfish and not doing anything for your That's stupid.
Yeah, and my son came to it too, and
Did he,
had the songs in his head.
How old is he?
He's 5.
Okay, and I imagine seeing people dressed up as things of food are going to be somewhat appealing to a 5-year-old.
Yes.
So that's another wheelhouse thing for him. That's good. So you do the conservatory of improv in the style of Shakespeare.
Yep.
Now, I didn't see it because I'm not gonna lie, I don't see improv shows very often. And is this full old English? You're trying to.
We are not if you know the language, you could speak it if you use it correctly. But
Right.
if you don't, as long as you're speaking in.
So it might necessarily be more about not necessarily the language, but the style of how those shows are acted now.
Yeah.
I guess then.
And I mean, plot points and stuff like that, those stick really, really closely to Shakespeare.
There's going to be deaths. There's going to be
right.
backstabbing. I'm assuming soliloquies at certain points.
Yes.
random people hiding behind the curtain.
Yeah. Fairies.
Fools. Like,
Yep.
King Lear's my favorite thing, so I'm just trying to remember everything from King Lear. So
yeah. Like even like some of the things we had to like work on was not. For some reason, we all had the tendency to want to be like servants or something, like people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like coming up or whatever, but that's not Shakespeare. Shakespeare.
No, that's Down Abbey, like more than Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly.
Shakespeare is kings getting destroyed.
Exactly.
And love, teenagers in love and ruining their lives, and more kings getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Princes getting destroyed.
Yep.
Evil. So there's a difference cast between the conservatory class and with Mirth and Laughter, right? Like, so you've done the two different sides of it. I think Steve kind is directing both.
That's right.
Oh man, that's so stupid. What's the difference between the two for you? Like, now granted, like, full disclosure, we're recording this before the actual premiere, and it's going to go up after the actual premiere. But in rehearsals, at least, there has to be a difference between the two casts that you've dealt with so far.
It's actually really different. Like, there's a lot of things that are sort of the same, where we still use the same kind of like plot, like trying to still follow things that Shakespeare would write. But it's much more Shakespearean, I think, like the show. And we
how many shows did you guys do with the conservatory?
4.
Okay, so it's okay.
Yep. And with this, like, we're actually starting with the soliloquy and doing that stuff and practicing sonnets and
oh my gosh, that's so much work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. Like, and I think like with the conservatory, we leaned a little bit more in like the jokiness of it.
Sure.
And we as Steve says, a little too Monty Python.
Okay, for whatever reason, like, when you were talking about Shakespeare, I was almost exclusively thinking of the tragedies. Are you focusing on the style of the tragedies versus the style of the comedies? Like,
it's actually, we're doing all of it. And
because like now that I think about it, there's an opportunity that one night you could do an improv styled King Lear styled improv. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, you could do A Midsummer's Night's Dream.
That's right.
And be vastly different shows. Yeah. Oh, that's intriguing to me now that I think about it.
And it's been like that in rehearsals, where it's like we've done vastly different things every time, and we surprise, or like we get to we're like, oh man.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do you do in the city? Because, like, I mean, I know you've hosted shows at. Is this your main project now, or are you stretching that stand-up self-performance muscle at all?
I still have done stand-up. I've written songs and stuff since then, and poetry. But I don't really go out and do them all the time. I actually just did a show in Bethlehem at Steel Stack called Improvised Stand-Up.
Okay. Wait. Okay, so how does that work?
They got to stand up and they like choose 3 words and they put them up on like a screen and you have to like talk about them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So.
What drew you to do in comedy? Like. What drew you to do like? I mean, you mentioned transitioning from poetry to getting the laugh through the poetry, and then music and dabbling in the JJ of the day, your internship, and then eventually like improv. But why keep pursuing it? Because there have been like listening to you, it feels like there have been stretches where you haven't done it.
Yeah.
So why did you go back and do it again or keep coming back to it?
That's what I've always wanted to do. And
Yeah.
I mean, the stretches when I didn't do it were possibly the most depressed times of my life.
So there's a clear difference in your lifestyle, your mood.
Yeah.
When you're not trying to be funny, you make people laugh.
Yeah.
Creative outlet, like, okay.
Yeah. And also, like, I naturally always did, like, it was my coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anytime, like, that was the way I avoided conflict. It was the way I avoided trouble at home. So.
And I guess because you grew up in New York
Yeah.
City, like, so there's, I mean, I'm not gonna stereotype New York City, but there's going to be some kind of conflict
Yes.
at whatever school. There's going to be something going down.
That's right.
No matter, you might not try to be doing it, but there's going to be some kind of mistake in, whatever.
Yeah.
So trying to get the laugh to get out of it is.
Yeah.
I tended more for the runaway side than the laugh side because it's generally the laugh side that got me in trouble. But, you can go your way too. That's fine. And then what's something that you've learned from comedy since you've dabbled in a bunch of the different areas of comedy? You've got to have learned something from it.
Yeah. That is, you never know all of it. Just, it's crazy how long, like, in my head when I started doing improv, and I'm like, oh, this will be fine. I've been doing stand-up for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And then, like just being like, wow, I know nothing about this. And the more I learned, like, the more, like, it made my stand-up better, to be better at improv, and my music better. And just, like, it took me down notches.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
where I really spent a long time, especially since, like, the open mics that I went to religiously for like a decade, and we were all the same people, and a bunch of people, like, made it, like, quote unquote made it, and did all this stuff, and then, like, moving to Bethlehem, like, I thought it was hot shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, you were a fish in a big pond coming to a much smaller pond. Again, shitting on Bethlehem. Coming to a smaller pond, so you're going to, like, yeah, I've got a leg up on all of you. Like, I totally see that. Like, even if I were going up there from Philadelphia, I'm like, what do you guys know? I'm from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah.
You have a minor league team in steel. Like, whatever.
Yeah. It wasn't until, like, I let go of a lot of that I even started, like, making friends and stuff, like, because I feel like when I was in the short form group, like, it wasn't about making friends. Like, that was more like it was like performing. We were performing.
Okay.
And we'd hang out sometimes, but it wasn't really hanging out. And then afterwards, like, and, like, again, coming from, like, New York and that whole thing, like, one of the hosts of the open mic is the person that literally officiated my wedding.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, and a bunch of people from the open, like, were the band, were the DJ.
So there was definitely a difference in, like, I'm not gonna be able to say this word, the camaraderie between New York and Bethlehem for you, like,
yeah,
like, where it sounds like Bethlehem, at least in that short form group, that was a job.
Yeah.
Compared to.
And it wasn't like that with the other stuff in Bethlehem. I think it was just that group, maybe.
Okay.
And because that was the other, when I left the group is when I started making friends in that scene. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's weird, but definitely learning different. Like, my favorite part of comedy has been learning the different parts of it.
Yeah.
And just feeling like there's always another part that I don't know.
Yeah, and then learning how the different muscles that you flex for each different thing can help the other, and vice, like, you know, like that's circle, that triangle of sketch, comedy, improv, other performances. Like,
yeah. I didn't even realize I wasn't like a good listener. I literally, when I first started doing improv, thought I had a hearing problem, and I went and I got my hearing checked. And he was like, your hearing is great. And I was like, what?
So you're just not listening, like you just weren't listening.
I was thinking all the time.
Yeah.
And wouldn't hear people say things because I was so like inside of my brain.
So you actually went and did that, like, beep, beep, beep,
Yep,
beep,
yep.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. He literally, like, the doctor was literally like, I could drop a pin in the other room and you could hear it, is how good your hearing is. And I was like, what?
And I suppose, like, when you're always trying to think of the response, like, and everyone says it, like, you know, actually listen to people and don't think of what you're going to say in response to that person before they actually finish talking. Like, but I got to say it really quickly after they say it. Like, that's how that works. That's how conversations are.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, I realized that I did that in real life. Like, a lot of times people would be talking to me and I would be like, oh, I'm going to say this thing. And then I could not hear anything else that they said because I was just thinking I'm waiting to say this
getting
thing.
caught in the second sentence, like, oh, there's a good point there. And then just completely forgetting what the other five that they say. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Daily, maybe hourly basis for me. Like, I'm trying to listen on the podcast, and I'm sure sometimes I fail. But yes, I totally see that one for sure. That is me. Thanks, Leticia.
Thank you.
You can see Leticia in With Mirth and Laughter this Friday, December 22nd, or next Friday, December 29th at 7 p.m. at PHIT. Tickets are available at phitcomedy.com. After that, With Mirth and Laughter settles into the second and fourth Fridays of the month. Also, Leticia mentioned a CD that she released. So if you want to deep dive and see what she was up to back then, you can find tracks from Pain is Fun on her MySpace page. Because remember, MySpace is still a thing. If you haven't heard about it, where have you been? This Friday, head to Fishtown and check out Secret Pants' annual holiday show. Christmas in July, but in December, at Johnny Brenda's. December 22nd, starting at 9 p.m. The acts include American Express, Rebecca Richards, the McGraw Brothers, Randy Warhol, Jeff Jackson, the Merry Krampus, Chanel Ali, Doogie Horner, Gavin Riley Smoke Machine, and Chip Chantry. Tickets are available at johnnybrendas.com, and you really should go. It's generally my favorite show of the year. And then don't forget about me performing in Overbooked 2017, the year-end sketch show at Philly Improv Theater, December 29th at 9 p.m. Tickets are available at phitcomedy.com. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. And you can like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Go see some comedy.